Before I start the show, I want to talk about StarStock. The site has now launched in beta, and you can deposit, purchase cards, view your collection, and flip those cards in the marketplace with more being built. StarStock is building a sports card marketplace aimed to be faster and cheaper for flipping sports cards than any other platform. They're currently looking for people who want to submit their cards to sell on the platform. Here's what they're offering: a 5% commission, no ingestion fees, you send in your cards and they do all the work. The cards are guaranteed and secured in a vault, and you can choose to ship your cards back at any time. You can buy, flip, or store cards with a click of a button. If you're interested in getting involved as a seller, contact Mike at starstock.com. StarStock is only looking for rookie cards and prospects of current players. For more details, contact Mike at starstock.com. And let's get on with the show. You're listening to the WaxPackHero Sports Card Minute, a podcast where we discuss both the hobby and business sides of collecting. I'm your host, Mike Sommer, and I want to help you buy, sell, and trade your way into a collection you'll love. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the WaxPackHero Project 2020 Minute. No, I'm just kidding. It's not the 2020 Minute. It is the Sports Card Minute. But boy, 2020 is catching all the rage, and it's the same thing on my own site. I started a section, if you haven't seen it already, for Project 2020 at WaxPackHero.com. I would encourage you to check it out. I'm having a ton of fun tracking it, but that is not the main point of today's podcast. Today, we're going to be bringing on Chris Torres. He is a fellow collector. He is a fellow reseller. And the main reason that I wanted to talk with him today is he was an early adopter of the eBay Managed Payments program, something that all eBay sellers are going to be moved over to by the year 2021. And so I thought it would be good to hear from him what his experience has been as a pilot member and giving us some of a heads up on what we can expect as part of the eBay Managed Payments program. We will get into that interview right after I tell you about one of my sponsors, Underdog Collectibles. They're a new shop based out of Knoxville, Tennessee, and you can join their Facebook group, The Underdogs, to buy, sell, and trade with other collectors. Just go to Facebook and search for The Underdogs as a shop that is run by collectors and for collectors, and you can visit them at udogcollect.com for breaks, wax, and singles. Well, hello again, and today we have Chris Torres on the line, and we are going to talk a little bit about his collecting background, his selling background, and one of the main things I think we're going to hit on is managed payments. And so, Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on. I greatly appreciate it.
No problem. Why don't we go ahead and get started by just giving us a little bit of a background on your collecting story?
Yeah, so I think as anyone who is in their late 30s, started back in the 80s and the 90s, and I got out of collecting mainly through college, and I picked it back up when I had my first real job after college. And back then it was 2005, 2006. I was mainly a football collector. I collected Thomas Howard from the Raiders. He unfortunately is now passed away in a car wreck from his fault. And so I was a football collector for 4 to 5 years. But then when I moved to Seattle, I kind of dropped off of collecting again. I had kind of sort of fallen out of football collecting. Back then, it wasn't my forte anymore. I really enjoyed baseball. And so when I got up to Seattle and I got more settled living up here now, I went back into collecting. And this is when I went back into baseball heavily. And so then it was collecting Mariner prospects, which I have a ton of, which never seem to pan out. A couple of these days now, it's very different to see Mariner prospects worth a lot of money. For many years, they were always pennies on the dollar. Mm-hmm. But it's transitioned from being a random sort of box buyer to then buying 3 to 4 boxes to being, buying multiple cases of a product to then my collecting is really streamlined. And people all the time say, well, what do you collect? Or you don't collect at all? And I collect very, very small. I prefer to move everything to other people, but I only collect right now my Seattle Mariners out of 76, the Independence Day parallels from Flagship, so Series 1, Series 2, an update series. And then I started at the National this year, my T206 journey. So I'm That's on pause right now at the moment, but I'm also doing the T212 Seattle Giants team set from OBAC. So I'm more pre-war collecting when there's not a flagship release. So at the moment it's all pre-war, but then when flagship comes out, I switch back to modern for about a week or two, and then I go back to pre-war.
So tell me about that transition from, starting to buy a bunch of boxes for your own collection. At what point did you have that switch flip where you were intentionally buying multiple boxes or cases with that intent to resell? Was there something that kind of prompted that kind of flip to a business approach?
I think when I was doing it just sort of haphazardly or randomly, I've always wanted to sell, at a higher volume or keep building up. Back when I was first doing this back in, 06, 07, Britton Beckett, the legend of the hobby in a sense, was doing it back then. And so I always thought, well, if he does it, who else can do it, or what's the process? And I realized it just sort of clicked with me one day. If I'm going to do this sort of at scale, but not full time, I have to be mindful of what I'm purchasing. I can't just go buy 4 boxes, try to hit something massive. I've got to really look at the numbers and go, well, if I buy 6 of this or 1 case of this, that's going to help me out long term. I just can't go buy stuff too randomly open to flip. If I'm just opening stuff randomly, I'm going to have random results. But if I look at it from the numbers and more strategically buying product, that's going to help me out long term. So there wasn't a moment. It was just sort of looking at the big picture in a sense, thinking, what can I do to make this more of a business versus just sort of a random lottery ticket?
And were you doing that mainly with unopened wax, like kind of ripping and flipping, or were you buying collections and reselling collections, anything singles and things like that?
Yeah, just buying boxes. So 3, 4 boxes here and there. We went from, being able to buy 2 boxes to then buying 6 boxes to then being able to buy, 3, 4 cases at a time. So it was just that slow process of realizing if I'm going to do this, I've got to do it strategically, not just randomly.
And now you've expanded into taking consignments as well?
Yeah, so that was sort of an offshoot of being furloughed. Is I figured, you know what, I want to be involved with the community, and I know a lot of people out there have not sold on eBay full time or done this at a large scale, and they just have some questions and things like that. So for me, I've been on eBay now since 2002, off and on, over the 18 years in a sense. But I figured, hey, I can offer up my time, which I have right now at the moment, and, charge a little bit of money. Look, I can never be the lowest consignment person out there because the main guys get these crazy reduced, final value fees from eBay because of their volume. So look, if it's local guys or it's guys that I know on Twitter, hey, I'll sell your cards. I make a little bit of money on the side, but it's a way for them to sell their stuff. They get their money. No headache, no hassle from them, and I just move their cards through my eBay store in a sense.
Do you sell anywhere else besides eBay, or is eBay your sole focus?
eBay is my sole focus. I just recently, with some of my pre-orders on Project 2020, I added them to my website, but that's just been only 3 cards. But typically, I'm only on eBay. I do have, I think, a couple cards on ComC that are for sale. I have no idea what they are, but I think I have 10 or 12 on there that they're up for sale, but who knows what they are.
Right. Not a part of your intentional strategy. So
No.
Let's talk a little bit more about eBay. And you, like you said, you're a longtime seller on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons that I wanted to chat today was because since 2018, eBay announced the migration from PayPal as a payment processor for them, or as one of the primary payment processors for them, into a new system they're calling eBay Managed Payments. And I believe you were one of the early adopters and one of the first people who volunteered to take on that new system. Yep. and be a part of that new program. And so many of the rest of us eBay sellers are going to be migrated onto that eBay Managed Payments platform throughout 2020 and early 2021 for the final end of that. And so I thought it'd be great to chat a little bit with you about what eBay Managed Payments has been like, some of the things that maybe have changed or evolved since the pilot started that you were a part of, and where we're at today. I know, just so everybody knows out there, Chris is not an eBay spokesman. He does not officially speak for eBay, but I thought it would be good to hear from somebody who has been a part of the Managed Payments platform. maybe we can just start with that. Why did you go ahead and volunteer to be part of that early move on to managed payments?
It was for one reason. And when you think back to my evolution of going from one box to 3 or 4 cases, it came down to the numbers. eBay to move over was not charging me the 30 cents per transaction that PayPal paid. What PayPal was charging me. So over 100 transactions, that's $30. And I'm moving low dollar cards. I'm moving stuff at mass, and that 30 cents it adds up so fast. So not only was it from 2.9% to 2.7, I'm not paying the 30 cents extra. So I felt from my perspective of being not a low dollar seller, but I don't do this full time. It just made too much sense not to give it an opportunity, not to give it a chance, because the fee savings were enormous at the time.
One of the biggest changes seems to be that when you as a seller make a sale, that money doesn't immediately go into a PayPal account anymore. And that if I understand correctly, you need to have a dedicated bank account to process those ACH or EFT payments from eBay?
Yeah, so eBay payments now, at the time I signed up for it, it was daily deposits into an account. Now with the spring update, you can set your deposit frequency. But yeah, every single day they deposit money into my account. It could be as little as $4. It could be as much as $1,000. It just really depends on however the payments clear through eBay, their speed. But typically when I get a payment from somebody, within 3 to 4 days, it's in my bank account to actually be used. If not, other than that, it's sort of in process.
One of the other aspects of that is, you touched on the fact that as an early adopter, you're not paying that initial transaction, 30 cents transaction charge. New people who are migrating over, there is a 25 or 30 cent transaction charge, I believe. What about the other fees? Are the regular fees are lower as well?
So the new structure is 2.75% and 25 cents per extra listing items sold. I'm paying 2.7% on my payments with no extra listing fee.
And that's in addition to your normal final value fee or your normal eBay commission, correct?
Correct. So whatever my 9% or 10%, whatever that number is, plus then it's on top of the 2.7.
And so for most people, it comes out a little bit less than what they're currently paying as a combination of eBay and PayPal.
Correct. The challenge is, and I asked this question to the eBay reps at the National in Chicago last year, and I said, hey, what's up with this per listing thing? Because someone like myself who has a large amount of cards online for sale, just like yourself, that could add up quickly. Yes, it's 2.7 versus 2.9, but that quarter is a lot of money when it adds up quickly. They said that over the long haul of the program, you're still saving money, even though you might be paying, if someone buys 3 things from you, three different listings, it's still cheaper overall than paying 2.9 and 30%. Now, I haven't run the math to figure that out, but they said that it is cheaper in the overall big scheme of things.
I had heard somewhere, and I have not confirmed this yet because I'm not officially on the platform yet, but as I was reading some of the FAQs and some threads and comments about this, I think that might have even been one of the tweaks that they made too, that it's now 30 cents per order.
So it's per listing item purchase. So if someone buys, for example, if I have 10 cards like in a UPick listing, that's only going to be a 25 cent fee. But if someone buys like a rainbow parallel from me, a gold parallel, and another card, they buy 3 different cards from 3 different listings, that's going to be 75 cents for the new person into managed payments.
Okay. That's a good thing for people to know. They kept talking, or there's also a lot of comments about the benefits for a seller as far as returns or customer service issues and things like that. Have you noticed anything as far as buyers initiating a return and this process being more favorable to the seller to protect you, for potential fraudulent buying activity, any of that type of thing?
So knock on wood, I've had very few issues with buyers. I don't run into many issues, but the one great thing about the changes is eBay had their return policy, which was 30 days. PayPal had their return policy of, I think it was 90 days or something like that. So if a buyer lost an eBay decision against them, they could then run to PayPal and PayPal could side with them. So there was this conflux in a sense of two different return policies. And if you had a crafty scammer or buyer out there, they could use them against each other and get their money back. It is easier now with eBay because they're the judge and jury, basically. There's no other person out there trying to jump in since they took the payment. But I don't really have those many issues. I had an issue recently with a buyer who said the card wasn't delivered, but the tracking showed it had, and eBay sided in my favor. And they held the money back for a couple of days, and then they released the funds. But it was a very streamlined process. But it is nice not to have to worry about somebody having another company that can get their money back because eBay said that you as a seller are in the right.
Now, did you have to set up a brand new bank account for this to work out? Did you use a personal bank account, or did you already have a business banking account or a business checking account that you were using?
I set one up because of this. At first, I let it come into my normal account all the time, but then I realized it's just too difficult. There's too many daily deposits, and at the time, you couldn't change the frequency. So I was like, I can't have 5-7 deposits coming in every week with my personal account. So I had a second account set up that I use just for that. I pay all my eBay fees from, and then I have them deposit that money into it. So it works out easier. But now with the new spring format, the spring update, you can set the frequency to once a week, 5 days, 3 days, whatever you like. So you don't need to have a second account now. It's your choice.
Have there been any other enhancements over the last year or so that make it more beneficial or that have eased that transition?
Yeah, the biggest one is the global ship program through eBay. So, of course, us in the States, that is, if you're not using global ship program or GSP, it is by far the best thing to use for international buyers. It does cost them money, but for us, the peace of mind just to get the thing to Kentucky and be done with it is just fantastic. So because of the way I still pay for shipment labels through PayPal. So that is changing here soon. But GSP was taken away from managed payment people because of the disagreement or however the coverage worked or whatever the back end between PayPal and eBay, that was taken away from us. I didn't sell a lot internationally. I don't do hockey. I don't do soccer like yourself. And so for me, it was a couple buyers here and there. And so that's been taken away. Apparently, it's now back available for me. I don't think I changed my account to take it away, but I still I've not seen an international order come through yet other than Puerto Rico, but it's not international. It's always been, of course, in the States. So I don't know if I need to go back in and change a setting or anything like that. But the best thing of the spring update, on top of the deposit structure, is being able to do GSP. So you can now sell hockey cards or soccer cards and not feel like you're losing half the market because they're not really in the States.
And I think I did read also that soon, if not already, you're going to be able to have your shipping labels deducted from your pending payments as well.
Yes.
or right? Like it won't have to come from a separate PayPal account.
Correct. So it's absolutely even better in the future because of that. Yeah, it's going to be, if eBay has $1,000 of yours and you spend 50 on labels, you're only going to get $950 now. That's been the biggest sticking point for me. Has been I still use PayPal from the sort of negative perspective when it comes to the shipping part of it. So it's not more bookkeeping, but it's just I'd rather have it all on eBay. So thankfully, they're going to have all of that taken care of on eBay. I don't know when it's coming, but it's coming soon. And then once that happens, I won't use PayPal, I don't think, at all. I mean, I don't sell on Twitter anymore. I keep everything on eBay because of all the new the tax changes, and it's just too complex to mess with that PayPal side. So I'll be done soon with PayPal, other than maybe a random payment to send to somebody for a card, like from any pre-war card or something like that. But from a business perspective, it'll only be on eBay because they're only making this program, to me, better off.
Have there been any other pain points along the way as you were digging in, either that you're still experiencing or that have already been addressed through some of the program updates?
No, I've had an absolute fantastic time with this. I guess the only real pain point is they did not advertise very well for us sellers who were not taking PayPal, because when I joined Managed Payments, PayPal did not become an option for buyers. And there was really nothing on the listing that said this seller does not take PayPal. So when that happened, I did lose a couple sales here and there, but the savings of the 30 cents and the 2.7 was a lot better than if I lost a random sale here or there. I also then occasionally would send somebody an invoice through PayPal and they would pay, and we'd call it a day. It's no big deal there. But that's been the only sticking point is eBay didn't advertise for us well enough that this person doesn't take PayPal. I wish on the listing it said this is a managed payment customer or seller in a sense. But that's been my only gripe. I was able to work through it with the buyers, and I did lose some sales, but it wasn't anything major on that perspective.
And that's changed too, right? PayPal will be a payment option for buyers by the time it's fully rolled out, I understand.
Right. You can pay me right now with PayPal through managed payments. So it's all, I think that was resolved sometime late last year or middle of the year. But yeah, I think I went like 9 to 10 months. I couldn't take PayPal, so that was a sticking point. But I mean, that's been resolved. And so anyone who signs up for it now, that's not going to be an issue.
Good deal. Good deal. Yeah, I got a communication that I was going to be migrated over in July. And so I have filled out all of my paperwork to be able to be moved over whenever that happens. So we'll see how it goes. I'm optimistic based on what I've heard from you and what I've read recently. And so, yeah, I just thought it'd be good to chat a little bit about what your experience has been. Let's talk a little bit about the content creation side of things. You had mentioned earlier the fact that you had been furloughed, and along with that, you've started kind of a web series on YouTube, and I think even an audio only release of that called Furloughed. Tell us a little bit about the idea for that and what you've been covering in that.
Yeah, so it started because I wanted to document this time period of my life, and this is something that I've always been in. I've been employed since I was like 16 years old, and I've always had a job. And I was like, you know what? This is an unprecedented time for everybody, whether you're working right now or not working. And so I said, what other better way to do it than get on video and then look back? I'm more interested in seeing these episodes in 30 years when I'm like almost 70 years old to think, God, how did I look, or how did I react, to the stuff in the moment? So it's more about the long-term game of having this on video. But what I cover is really any hot button topic of the day. Maybe there's a trending topic on Twitter. Maybe there's a thought process I have around selling. I film it every morning. I don't do a lot of planning the night before. It's just sort of what I feel in the morning and what I want to talk about. And then it sort of comes out of that. Occasionally shows tie together. Like I've got 4 or 5 episodes around eBay selling, and so I have a different playlist for that. But really, it's just in the moment, and it's about documenting my sort of time right now. I've been furloughed now for 5 weeks. I have 2 more weeks. I'm apparently going to find out this week if I'm coming back next month or if it's going to be extended. So there could be a season 2. I have no idea. But this is all about in the future, looking back at how I responded to it, and at the same time putting content out there.
Have you been enjoying it so far?
Oh, it's been great. I think, my previous job as a district manager, I always sort of spoke all the time, but I never really got to listen to myself, on the back end and edit what I said and think about how are people reacting to it, or how could I say this differently? So yeah, the first couple of weeks of not sort of listening to me talk was the biggest challenge. When you're recording this, you're sort of thinking of what you're saying and you're messing yourself up. So after a couple of weeks, I was able to really shut off my mind as I'm talking and then just put it out. So that to me has been the biggest challenge. But yeah, I think it's been a lot of fun.
Yes, many people say that my mind is always shut off when I'm talking. Yeah. And so, yeah, I know what you mean with that. One of the other things that I first appreciated from your content that you had shared before this on your website were some of the selling tools, things like your spreadsheet that help track eBay sales and things like that. Tell us a little bit about some of those other pieces of content that you have put out that are just there to help other collectors and help other sellers.
Yeah, so I think there are 3 articles that you want to look at the website at crt-sportscards.com. Number 1 is that sales tracking file. It's available for download whenever you'd like. I used to do it monthly, and then I realized I have this website I'm never really using, and I can load a file up to it, and then people can download it. And now I've made the file to be a year-round file versus you waiting for me to give you a new monthly file. That was sort of It made sense for a year, but now in 2020, it makes no sense. So now you can download the file and it tracks all of your sales. It's nothing too intense. All you have to do is plug your sales in. It tells you your top sales per day, your monthly sales, stuff like that. The second one is going to be the changes of the USPS, the postal rate changes in this year. It really talks about the savings when it comes to printing at home versus going to the counter. And now going to a counter at a store is a different obstacle altogether, but the savings are just enormous when you print at home. And so getting yourself a thermal printer and labels is going to save you a ton of money at the course of the day, over the course of a year. And then the third one it's called protecting yourself. It's about, look, everyone is coming, or there's a lot of new people in the hobby right now. And how do you pay? How do you get around buyers who might want to looking to scam you or whatever that could be? So there's a couple tips in there around just becoming a better buyer and then also becoming a better seller from protecting yourself overall. So
very cool. Well, is there anything else that you want the listeners to know as far as things that you've got going on, things that you're working on, anything else that's going to be coming soon?
Yeah, if you're on the website, check out the Project 2020 page. Look, I'm a big numbers guy. I love tracking that series. I've gone from ignoring it to looking at it to researching it to now I'm all in. And so every morning the numbers come out, I update it. There's a ranking system of the top artists, of the top cards. There's a full picture gallery. So if you are curious on Project 2020, check out the website. You'll have all the details there for all the releases.
Very cool. And the best place to get a hold of you, crtsportscards.com.
Yep.
And where else? Where else can people find you?
I'm mainly found on Twitter. So at CRT or at CRT_sportscards. My website, like you just said, I'm on Instagram, but I'm not a big picture person. So my Instagram content's pretty weak, but I'm out there. It's under CRT Sports Cards there again. But the main thing is Twitter and the website.
Great. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Greatly appreciate it.
No problem. Well, I hope you found that information on the eBay Managed Payments program helpful, especially if you're an eBay seller who is going to be migrated over sometime this year. I know I appreciated learning a little bit more directly from somebody who's already experienced it. Be sure to give Chris a follow at CRT Sports Cards. Check his site out at crtsportscards.com. And let me know, too, what you thought of the show, what you thought of that interview. You can reach out to me at WaxPackHero@gmail.com or at TheMikeSummer on Twitter. And don't forget to leave a rating and review at your podcast app of choice. And last but not least, check out the Hobby Hotline live call-in show that we do each Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Central. You can learn more by following at Hobby Hotline on Twitter. That's all I've got for you today. Thanks, and I'll catch you next time.